I thought I already knew what to expect from this machine, because I've used one of Lunyee's CNCs before, and while that one was decent for the price, it still very much felt like a basic hobby machine. So when this 3020 Nova arrived, I expected more of the same. But almost immediately after opening the box, I realized that wasn't the case. There are a few things here that are extremely rare in this price range, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So in this video, I'm taking a detailed look at the new Lunyee 3020 Nova. The build quality, features, assembly, and most importantly, whether the actual performance backs up those first impressions. Right from the start, there has been some upgrades. Small ones, but meaningful ones. There are more serious clamps included here. I do wish there were 4 of them, but the standard T-track means I can easily use some of my own if needed. There are also some standard bits that come with the machine, but this 1/4-inch single flute upcut is not something you normally see included. And this is a first, a complete set of collets. Standard 1/4-inch and 1/8-inch, but also metric collets from 1mm all the way up to 7mm. That's really useful for someone like me that uses both US made and metric tools. Other than that, you get the basic tools and maintenance accessories, the manual, an upgraded C-probe, and the USB cable. And now we're getting into the really important stuff, and where I was really surprised by what you actually get for this price. The 800-watt spindle was advertised and expected, but this is a really solid unit, and the design is a bit different from most of the ones I've seen before. Speed ranges from 6,000 to 30,000 RPM in 6 steps. The cast aluminium spindle mount is also extremely solid, and this gives the first real hint of the machine's rigidity, because the entire C-axis module is incredibly large, heavy and sturdy. Just look at the size of that rod and the linear rails. The cabling for the limit switches is also managed much better compared to the previous model. The wires themselves are still exposed, but overall this is a clear improvement. This thing is packed incredibly tight, but once I get a look at all the parts, it's clear this is not your average basic hobby machine. Just look at this. 12mm lead screw on every axis, with these really thick linear rails, 2 on each axis. This, supported by a really heavy-duty frame, makes the axis move with virtually zero play, even when I really try to challenge them. This is rare. Combined with the 800-watt spindle, this level of rigidity means you should be able to comfortably push the machine to some serious speeds and depths. The bed itself is aluminium with T-tracks throughout. You also get manual adjustment wheels for all the axes, and the machine now comes with a proper external emergency stop button as well, a much better solution than on the 3018. Another major improvement is the cable management and electronics. Last time, the cable management was honestly a bit of a mess, and most of the electronics were open and exposed. This time, much better. Everything comes pre-cabled in a much cleaner and more organized way, and they've added a proper enclosure for the motherboard. Maybe next time they'll integrate both the motherboard and the power supply into one tidy box. That's mostly aesthetic, but I really do like the direction they're moving in. Let's get this assembled and jump into actual testing. Since the machine comes mostly assembled, it's really just a matter of attaching the Z-axis module to the gantry, mounting the spindle bracket, and installing the spindle itself. Then connect all the cables for the Z-axis module, and when securing the wires, make sure to leave enough slack for full movement on both the Z-axis and the X-axis. A cable chain might have made this a little cleaner, but honestly, this works fine. And with all the electronics mounted directly on the gantry, rather than inside a separate enclosure, there really isn't much room for one anyway. I might actually prefer this solution. Let's hook it up to the computer to make sure everything works before actually making something with it. One of the changes from the 3018 is that they skipped the external controller completely, so this machine is only operated directly from a computer through USB. And honestly, after testing the previous model, that's probably just as well. That controller was very basic and I ended up using the computer directly anyway. Everything powered up and connected without any issues. Setting it up in easel was straightforward, and I also configured the set probe, although I rarely use one myself. One more thing worth looking at before testing: dust collection. and with a machine like this, I'd really consider getting one. Lunyee actually makes dust shoes specifically designed for their spindle systems. This one is sold separately, but I really do recommend getting one. With this much spindle power, you're going to make a lot of chips very quickly. You probably won't catch every chip, but you will capture the fine dust, which is the important part if you want to keep your shop air clean. I'll move the machine over to my CNC corner and hook it up to the vacuum system. It does look pretty tiny over here, and that's the downside of this type of machine. With a working area of roughly 30 by 20 centimeters, you're obviously not making large one-piece projects on this machine. But you can tile design and work around those limitations most of the time. And there are of course upsides to the limited size too, like that it doesn't take up too much space. As a test for this machine, I want to use the large single flute upcut bit that came included, in a project that I think a lot of makers want to try. I'm making a tray out of hardwood. It's a great way to push the machine, while also testing rigidity, cutting performance and finish quality. And I'll be doing this as a double-sided job, which also gives me a chance to show a really useful alignment technique for machining both sides of a piece accurately. In addition to the upcut bit, I'll also use this 5mm radius roundover bit to give the bottom of the tray a softer, more finished look. Let me know in the comments if you'd like a dedicated step-by-step video on this box, including illustrations, settings and the full workflow, and I will try to make one. Once the piece is mounted on the machine, it's time for the first cut, a 2mm surfacing pass. Look at that. That already looks really good. You can always experiment with settings, but this is producing nice clean chips right away. Now it's time to clear the pocket and push the machine a bit more. I'm running 3mm passes here, and you can hear the machine has no problem handling it. The surface finish is already really clean, except for these slight step-down lines on the walls from the pocketing passes. I'll run a full depth finishing pass and remove about 1/10 of a millimeter from the sides to clean that up. Next, I start the cutout. I'm not cutting all the way through yet, only about 6mm deep. I'll finish the cut from the other side. The bit isn't long enough to reach the full depth in one pass, so I have to start the cutout from this side first. This also avoids having tabs on the top edge of the tray, which can easily chip when removing them. The alignment holes are centered to the tray, and once I flip the piece, they should make everything line up perfectly. You'll see what I mean in a second. I know drilling holes with a CNC bit is a bit questionable, but since this is an upcut bit and I'm using a peck drilling motion to clear chips as I go, it should be fine. Now I remove the piece and make the same holes in the sacrificial board. And at this point I realize something I didn't think about earlier. This upcut bit is 1/4 inch, meaning 6.35mm, while my alignment pegs are only 6mm. That might become an issue when it comes to alignment accuracy. I think it will still work though, because with 4 pegs there's very little play, even if the holes are slightly oversized. If you're enjoying this review, feel free to check out the channel for more creative projects and machine tests. Likes and comments also really help the channel, so let me know what you think of the machine so far. And as part of this collaboration, I can offer a 12% discount for viewers interested in a Lunyee machine. It helps support the channel through commission and is a pretty solid deal if you're thinking about getting one yourself, so thank you if you use my link. I do the same surfacing pass on the underside, this time with the vacuum brushes attached. Now it's time for the bit change. Technically, I could have done the entire project with only one bit change and saved the roundover for last. But that would mean cutting the roundover while the tray is only held in place by tabs, and I don't really want to risk that, so I switch back to the upcut bit for the final cutout. The final pass of the roundover is a tiny bit too deep, leaving a little ledge on the bottom. I'll have to sand that smooth. Next time I'll adjust the depth to avoid this. Now the final step. The cutout down to 2 cm where I meet the cutout from the other side. Here I push the depth to 4 mm per pass, and the machine handles it without any issues. Once the cutout is finished, it's time to see if the alignment worked. And this looks pretty good. Not completely perfect though. Next time I'll definitely use a bit that matches the pegs exactly, but this is good enough. The outside still needs a little cleanup because of the tabs and the slight misalignment. After some light sanding and an oil finish, the tray is done. To give my final thoughts, I'm really impressed by this new Lunyee machine. It's miles ahead of the 3018 machines, without being that much more expensive really. Thanks for watching, and check out the channel if you want to see more machine tests and creative projects with different materials.